Hi everybody, this is Vex from Revuto, founder and CEO of Revuto, and today I'm gonna start talking about Revuto's story. This is something that I've been waiting for a long time, and I was waiting for the right moment to actually start telling you the story behind Revuto and everything, how we actually started all of this, why we started all of this, what is the vision behind Revuto, what are the goals, what we want to achieve. We're gonna speak a lot about the roadmap, about awesome product features that we're gonna bring in this year, during this year, but most likely also a lot of things during the next year and all the years after, because Revuto is not the project for 2025 or for this moment. We are building something special here. We are building something for a long run. We are building something that we think, that we believe that people are gonna be using on a daily basis because it's gonna help them in their real life situation. It's gonna help them to save money on something that we all do, and that's pay for our subscriptions. So, but before we jump into the specific of the product and product features and what we want to do and how we are actually combining our, we call it a fintech product with the Web3 products, with the crypto, with the blockchain technology, I'm gonna start telling you, why Revuto is here today. So, uh, let me begin. Also, let me take a little sip of my secret sauce to be less nervous about it. Okay. So basically, in 2017, I came to from my home city, Zagreb in Croatia, in Eastern Europe, to San Francisco. I came there to raise money for my previous startup. And I spent 3 years living in San Francisco and Silicon Valley, going to all kind of events, mostly pitching my previous startup, which was a hardware business, and trying to raise money for it. During the time, I actually met a lot of people, not only from the industry, from the startup industry, but also from my home city, from Zagreb, and also from Croatia in general. People who were working for a really respectable companies in Silicon Valley, tech companies, of course. And also, that was the time when I met our co-founder Marko Rukunic, which we call internally Rux. By the way, my name is Vedran Vukman. People call me Vex because it's much easier to pronounce. Marko Rukunic called Rux, so it's somehow it fits. And yes, to get back to the story, so I met Marco, and Marco was at that time working for Intuit, the biggest, I would say, fintech company in the world. Intuit has a couple of products. One of the most famous products that they do is QuickBooks. QuickBooks is something to keep your books, bookkeeping app for companies. Also, they have Mint. Mint is something like a personal finance product where you track all your spendings. And Marco was very into the fintech business, I would say. I remember when we first time spoke about everything about startups, he was not so into the thing that I was doing, and I remember that he said, you have amazing energy, Vedran, and I love your product and everything, but there is nothing that I can help you with that product because I'm not into that business. I'm more into the fintech stuff. Also, I have to mention that I came to San Francisco in January 2017, and for me, that was the time when I was, for the first time, really deep. I started to follow deeply into what was going on with crypto. At that time, Ethereum was a big hype. Everybody knew about Bitcoin, but Ethereum was a big thing because Ethereum was like a first infrastructural blockchain which allowed people to build products on top of it. And afterwards, we saw like a huge inflow of token sales and new products launching on crypto, basically on Ethereum. Before that, that was not possible. So also to learn about the business. I was going throughout the city and visiting uh, almost all crypto meetups and events to learn about everything. And that was actually lasting throughout the whole year. And that was the time when I learned a lot of about the crypto. And already then I, in a way, had the sense that crypto is something that's gonna stick around, that's gonna stay. For me, it was some kind of like evolution of a traditional financial infrastructure business, because already at that time I was using a lot of fintech products, neobanks, which allowed me to bypass the traditional financial system and the traditional banks, because I was fed up with the banks and how everything worked. Especially, being in a strange country, in a different country, away from home. I had a difficult time, receiving the money from my home country, from my friends and family who wanted to help me, and back as well. Sometimes I would had money, and I would want to send money to my mom, and then there was nothing else to actually use but Revolut at the time to send very, I would say, effectively money over the seas, without using the banks, because we all know how banks work. They don't work on weekends. Even they have a cut-off dates or cut-off times. So even if you're late with the making or initiating the wire transfer in a day, so most likely they're gonna send it out next day. So if you're lucky, next day is not gonna be some kind of a holiday or a weekend or things like that. And those things took time. And already then I saw also that the fintech businesses are gonna be a huge thing, because they do things differently, and your user experience was much better for the user. For instance, I could, with Revolut, I could send like 100 or $200 back home during the weekends to somebody else like nothing, in seconds, and that helped me a lot. But to get back to crypto, so I knew that crypto is gonna stay, and especially that younger generations are gonna like it. At the time, I was already using the Coinbase app. Also, I was using a BitPay crypto debit card, which was one of the first credit cards out on the market. Also, I was one of the first users of all other crypto debit cards that were available at that time, like even the Wirex and Chapo, and e-payments later, and so on. So I knew, that crypto is gonna be a thing. But also during my stay in the US, I saw something else. I saw that like a subscription business is growing like hell. So we call it in short SaaS. And while I was there, I was paying tons of things on a monthly basis. Basically, not only just to live, to consume the digital content, like like the streaming services. Not just that, but also to run my business. So I remember, I was paying for, and I'm still doing that, now when we are working on Revuto. I was paying for Microsoft Office, the whole package, Adobe Creative Suite, Dropbox, Slack, DocuSign. Like I had like a web page built on Shopify. Then I had like the Stripe integrated. So all those things I had to pay on a monthly basis. And what I learned very quickly is that I lost track to whom, with what, when, and with what I was paying for. Basically, many times I would be in some kind of like a liquidity crunch with money, with funds to cover all my expenses. So I was using all kind of different cards, either from Revolut, which was like a neobank or a fintech product, then a crypto card, as I mentioned, like a BitPay card. Then I had like my personal debit card from Croatia. I had the business card from Silicon Valley Bank in the US. I also had my personal bank account in the US. I opened actually three bank accounts in the US at that time, which helped me a lot. So I was managing, between all those like accounts and where did I had money to pay and cover for all those expenses. And it was hard, and talking to Marco, I actually asked him, Marco, do you have the same problem? Because I see people in the US, especially besides this, um, spending a lot on SaaS products on a monthly basis to run things. I see that in the US, people pay or use services to commute, like a Lyft and Uber were a big thing there. Then electric scooters came around. Then I was using a Turo also to commute, and the Turo had like some kind of subscription business model also to rent, like more expensive cars. Then you could pay for service to go to cinemas um, across the city, then also the same thing to go to those gyms to work out across the city, then a lot of services to get food on your doorsteps, which people were using a lot. Sometimes you would get like a raw food and with the recipes how to cook something, or you just order the food. So many things, so many different things on a subscription business model were sold at the time. And and that was coming in strong. I did Google, I did my research, and I saw that like the expectation for SaaS business model were very very high. And even now they say like 3 to 5 years that more than 75% of businesses are going to be offering at least one product or service on a subscription business model. So that's huge. Yeah, so that was one of the problems. The second problem is, when you pay for so many things, with all those different cards, you pre-authorize your debit or credit cards with those service providers, you actually become somehow in their mercy, in their ownership, because even though you don't necessarily use those services, you're gonna be paying them for the next billing cycle if you don't unsubscribe. And sometimes it was really difficult to unsubscribe. All those service providers are very cunning in what they do. They sometimes even let you subscribe very easily over the smart TV or set-top box, for instance, for Netflix. But if you want to opt out, then it's a different story. It's hard to opt out. I remember, and I'm still using a GoDaddy service, and even today, I don't know how they manage that, but always, how whatever I do, and I opt out from all those things, and keep they they always find a way how to take money from me, and of course, um, all those services, they don't let you actually to delete the payment source, the payment option for using their service. You always either need to replace the card number, the card information, or actually delete the account. And that's very painful. Sometimes, maybe, just maybe, you don't want to use those services, which are, by the way, by default, all prepaid services, meaning that you pay upfront for the next billing cycle. Usually that's month after month. You pay month after month. Sometimes you opt in to pay for a whole year, but in general you always pay upfront. And sometimes it's hard, to do something about it, because maybe, just maybe, like, for instance, DocuSign, next month you don't need it. You don't have any documents to sign, but maybe, third month or fourth month you again need that service. The same is with everything else. So there was basically no other way around to pause the payment, but to actually keep the account empty without money. And what would that do is to make the service provider suspend the service for you. So they're also very very cunning with how they structure their business. So even if you don't have money to pay for the next billing cycle, after few days they're gonna suspend the service to you, but they're gonna still keep trying to charge the card that you left with them. And if you, for any kind of reason put money back on that account, and if they search for money, if they see that there is a money, enough money to reactivate the service, they're gonna take the money and reactivate the service, and that's how they earn. That's how they make money. And I said, there should be something to do about it, to help users to better manage those things, to actively manage, to whom they pay, how much they pay, when they pay, with what they pay. So to get back to Marco, I asked Marco, if he has a similar problem, and he said, yes, Vedran, I lost a lot of money by paying something that I'm not using. Also, he mentioned those free trial traps, where he and some other also people, but that usually happens. They opt in to try something, because there is a free trial, or I don't know, 7 days, 14 days. But all those service providers which are offering those free trials, they always take the number of your card, and they count on your forgettingness, that you're gonna forget to opt out on time, and that's how they make money. They actually, if you don't opt out before the free trial expires, they're gonna charge you for the next billing cycle. And sometimes, even nowadays, that's becoming so crazy that they even charge you not only for a month but for a whole year upfront, and it's a huge problem. Of course, people can complain, and you can complain, and you can ask, for a chargeback and things like that. But most of the people actually lose money in that process. They don't want to bother, or they don't have time to bother with complicated process of getting the refund, and it's a huge problem. So as I said, there was nothing actually to help around that problem. Of course, some of us were thinking, how to find a workaround, how to help ourselves in those situations. And then, we started to use fintech products, and especially those products who were offering virtual debit cards, to maybe, use to make those debit cards, or use those different debit cards and pay just the specific things with that card, not to use your own card, or the card where you regularly get paid, where your salary sits, or I don't know, you are having money or something like that. You don't want to get exposed with that account to those service providers, because they're gonna always be sucking up money from you. So that's why, yes, we were trying to use disposable, virtual, and I would say like a physical cards, because US is very specific about that. You could, in the US, and that's not very popular in Europe, you could go in a market store, in a store, and basically where they kept like all those like gift cards, there would be a debit card, Visa or MasterCard, which you could, without the name or anything, which you could use to pay things online with, but you had to, like, go to counter and say, I want to top up this card, I don't know, with $100 or something like that. And of course, I was using that as well. But still, even if you use all those things, it's really hard to track everything if you're paying a lot of those things on a monthly basis. And basically, that's how actually the idea about creating Revuto somehow, came into my head. I was obsessed with it. I was thinking about it all the time, because I saw a huge problem, and I saw a huge opportunity to build something to help people sort those things out. Again, I was a power user, or early user, or of all popular fintech products, but still, all them, were mostly, used at that time for peer-to-peer payments, and to help people to exchange different currencies easily, send money easily, receive money easily, and things like that. But nobody was tackling that specific problem, at least at that time. With time, of course, Um, After 3 years, I returned back to Croatia. The main reason was also like the COVID hit. First China, my previous startup was a hardware startup, as I said. China shut down all the factories where hardware was built. Afterwards they had like big backlogs. Everything became impossible actually for my previous business, and I was already deeply in my mind about Revuto and about crypto and everything. And I, sat down with Marco and I said, listen, do you want to start this business with me? Do you want to invest some money personally to start it? And I said, that I spoke with a couple of my other friends who were also willing to jump in and to kickstart this with me. And this is basically how everything started. Marco said yes, he was very interested. He gave me a lot of um, um, uh, resourceful information about the trends in a financial business. Marco was also working with his team on credit scoring within the Intuit, and he was very, 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 very good with it. Marco has like more than 25, I think, like peer-reviewed patents correlated to credit scoring. And I knew that we were up to something. But also, besides everything that I described, I always knew that I want to have crypto as a part of a Revuto product, because I saw huge opportunity to offer people better, superior financial products, something that could save them, even potentially save them more money or earn them money in a way, if we combine crypto with everything that I said. And also we spoke about actually the setup, how we would imagine Revuto to work. And we already, I told him, what I wanted to do, and he said that he was thinking about exactly the same thing. I said, let's build an app where people are going to be able to add their services or subscriptions, things that they pay for. And then for each of those, we're going to issue them a dedicated debit card. It can be virtual debit card. Already then, virtual debit cards were possible. And then, they can actually within the app control not only when they want to pay, if they want to actually skip the next billing cycle, pause the payment, but also control how, with what to pay. So even if they have a different those debit or credit cards, and then for this month or next month they want to use something else to pay with, they need to be able to do so. Because now, if you don't have that, it's very, very difficult. For instance, if you leave your card where you get paid, where you get your salary, then with the service provider, then if you want to change next time with what you want to pay, you need to go to that account and then replace the payment card and do the pre-authorization and everything again. And maybe the next month or next billing cycle you want to use some other card where you have money to do the same, and that's a difficult process. And I said, this should be very easy for users, and let's do that. Let's make it easy um, for the user. I have to say that at the time when we came up with that idea, there was nothing similar like that out on the market.